Good morning. So somebody reached out to me and asked me a question of what can I do to stop beating myself up? People are nowadays love beating themselves up. They like taking their faces and just smashing them with their fists. So the question is like, what can we actually start to do about that to really stop ourselves from doing all these things? Because at the end of the day, like we want to be nice to ourselves. Like most people are not nice to themselves. So what is it that we can start doing to really make sure that we don't have to be so insecure with whatever it is that we're looking to go through, and to make sure that if we are moving forward, if we do want to be doing the things we want to be doing, we know that beating ourselves up is not going to be beneficial. Sometimes people are a little tough out there and they're like, no, I need to be tough on myself because it's going to help me do more. But how many of us does that really work for? And maybe there are people out there. So if you are one of those people, continue doing it because we want to get as much done as possible. But also know that most people beat themselves up. They end up just like getting so tired and they get so disgusted with what is going on, and they just can't really get past the thing that they're looking to try to get through. So what is it that we can actually start to do? And one of the really cool things that I think about it is that we all have a certain expectation of ourselves, and it's a really a beautiful thing that we have this expectation that we should be doing so much, and we should continue to strive, and should continue to do those things. However, a lot of times our expectations are not really met with our reality. And sometimes we think that, like, oh, we should be amazing at business, or we should be an amazing parent, or we should be doing all these amazing, amazing things. But then what ends up happening is that we don't do those things and we end up getting upset. And the question is like, well, why do you expect to be that way already? We think we should be that way, but did you practice? Did you start doing all those things that you should be doing in order to become that type of person? Like, you think you should be in the NBA, but then the question is like you're not, and there's a reason why you're not. So why is it that people have these expectations that they think they should be doing X, Y, and Z, but then they're really not that type of person? So it's extremely important to first understand that where are we on the reality level, and usually our reality is usually a very good indicator on that where we actually are. So if you're upset, like you have an amazing product and you're trying to get sales, well, maybe you're just not good at marketing, or maybe maybe your product's not as good as you think it is because like your mom said it's good. Like my mom always tells me I'm great, which is amazing and I appreciate it. But sometimes I know that like she's also my mom. Sorry, mom, if you were listening, right? So understanding that like there are certain things that we need to be understanding about just ourselves and the reality of ourselves, and there's no judgment there, and that's totally fine. Because if we don't have that information, then we're actually not going to be able to do the things that we're looking to do. And really collecting the information about what it is that we've been through, what it is that we've had going on in our past, is going to be extremely important to see where it is that we want to be going. So if we could start to recognize that, if we start doing those things, it's going to be powerful. It's going to be extremely powerful because the numbers don't lie, as they say. So we have to recognize that, we can do all of these things in order to make sure that we're actually becoming and be doing the things that we want to do. So if we're in our heads, if we want to get out of it, number one is just the expectation. What is our expectation of ourselves? What is the reality of the life that we live in? And what are the things we can start doing to make sure that we're looking to actually take the right actions? And we can start to do that, then we can actually start to slow down. And that's another thing. I think the idea that nowadays everybody's going so quick, it's great, and we want to be productive and we want to do a lot of things, but we also have to realize that like sometimes you just need to take a break. We need to pause. We need to see that what, there are certain things that I can be doing. I just need to like take a chill pill. If we take a chill pill, then we can actually start to move forward, and we can actually start to see what it is that we're looking to do. Like we can realize, okay, this is my reality. What can I start to do to change? What are the things that I can start taking advantage of, and what are the things that I can start doing today in order to make my life, my reality tomorrow a lot better? And then our expectations could actually be met, and we can start doing those things. And trust me, I am a huge proponent of manifesting, of doing all this mindset work to really make sure we're actually taking advantage of all the things that we want to take advantage of, but recognizing that it's so important to recognize our reality. And if we just slow down to speed up, that is going to be a tremendous, tremendous, tremendous amount of benefit for us in our own personal lives. And people don't really realize that, but the amount of pressure that they put on themselves to do certain things is it's just too much. It's just too much pressure, and we need to really just slow down and really look to see what it is that we could start to do. So in terms of the actual techniques and practical pieces that we can actually start to do, so I'm a huge proponent of journaling. So I don't know if anybody out here journals, but if you don't journal, I really highly recommend it. And this is not necessarily like a diary, and and on my channel I'm going to be talking about more about what it is that journaling is and how we can actually take advantage of it and the benefits about why it is so important to actually journal. But recognize if we can start to journal and start to write down a couple of ideas about what it is that we're actually proud of about ourselves, we're going to stop being so hard on ourselves, because we're going to start to notice certain things in our day that we're doing in order to make sure that we're becoming that type of person. So if we can do that, if we can recognize that, you know what, I'm going to take a moment out of my day to make sure that I am going to be proud of myself, to not be so insecure with the things that are going on in my life. I'm going to be nice to myself instead of being so tough on myself. Then we can actually start to see those things. And we're going to see those things really penetrate in our lives throughout our day. And it's extremely important to realize that if we could start doing that, then we can actually look to see all of the things that we're actually good at. I'm not saying to like pat ourselves on the back when we do something and we could be doing something more. I'm saying let's be realistic with the fact that like life is tough. We're doing certain things, and the fact that we can actually get those things done is extremely important. So if you journal, I would highly recommend 3 things a day that you're proud of yourself if you're having an issue with this. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people have this low confidence, and they have this low self-worth about themselves because they're not, quote unquote, exceeding their expectations. They're not meeting their expectations. They're not meeting the expectations. Like, why is it that they should be actually happy about themselves? And that's like really the key point about like, you know what, I got to stop beating myself up, because practically it's not going to be helpful. You are not going to be further along in your life if you continue to beat yourself up. Like I said earlier, you might have those people who are like unicorns, and like then beating themselves up is going to be more beneficial. But even them, I would even challenge, like, let's say you didn't beat yourself up, like, would you be able to be more productive in your day? Because how many times do people beat themselves up and then like they're just shot for the rest of the day, the next day, the next week, just because like they just get so down on themselves. And it's something that I think with social media, especially nowadays, people like want to get this like dopamine hit of this vibe, that this feeling that they want to have, but recognizing, you know what, I don't have that. So I got to really start to work and really look to get out of my head, because if we don't get out of our head, we're only going to get more insecure. And if we could start to just really take those small actions. So practically, okay, if we want to become the person that we want to become, what are the things that we can actually start to do? It's a good question, right? What is it that we can start to do? What is it that I can start doing today to make sure that I'm actually going to take the change tomorrow, so my reality is going to meet my expectations of the life that I want to live? So on the one hand, recognize that, King Solomon said that when you die, if you have one, you're going to want two, you're going to want four. So part of life is that there's always going to be more. There's always going to be more that we're going to want. And we're probably not going to achieve everything that we're looking to achieve. So if we can't achieve everything that we're not going to achieve, the question we need to ask ourselves is, what is the thing that we can actually do? What are the actions we can actually start to take? And we can start to take those actions, then we can actually become the people that we want to become. And we don't have to beat ourselves up, because we're actually living the life we want to be living. Because so many times, and the big part about the coaching that I do is that most people know exactly what it is that they need to do. They know what they need to do. The question is like, why aren't they doing it? And it's the accountability, it's the mindset, it's the fears, and all those things that I work on with people. That is like the real exciting and fun part. But understanding, like, we all know what we need to be doing, right? Like, if you need to be like losing weight, like, you need to be eating less. If you want to be starting to work out more, like, you need to go to the gym, or you need to start doing push-ups. Like, what you need to be doing. And the question is like, why aren't you doing it? And that's where like the self hatred comes in, because we start beating ourselves up. Like, oh, why didn't I do it? Like, I'm supposed to wake up early. Like, why didn't I wake up early today? And we all know that. So if we're not doing those things, then of course we're going to beat ourselves up, because we're reminding ourselves daily about all the things that we're doing wrong. And if we're doing all those things wrong, then of course we're going to beat ourselves up. So if we could start being nicer to ourselves, if we could start to recognize, you know what, these are the things I need to start doing. And they can be so small. I remember when I started on my journey, I just started with going on a walk around the block. I wasn't focused on my finances. I wasn't focused on my relationship. I just, let me just go on a 5-minute walk every single day. And that is going to help me do the disciplines of starting to do one thing every single day to move forward. And if we could start doing that one thing, then you have no idea the power of what's going to really happen moving forward. And if we could just recognize that the small disciplines every single day, that's where we need to start. And disciplines are tremendous. They're so powerful, because if you think of any high performer, anybody who's so successful, they could probably go back to one thing, one idea, one time, one action that they did that really made sure that everything else really transformed and really moved along the way. Of course, we're going to have these fears. Oh, how do I know this is the right thing? That's the right thing. That all just helps us make it be more insecure, and makes us make less decisions. So if we could just slow down, recognize, you know what, I need to be more disciplined. I need to start focusing on the things that I can actually control. Right? What are the actions that can take? Yes, of course, we all want to be millionaires and we all want to invest in all these different things. But what are the things we can start doing right now, the actions that we can start taking today to make sure that we're moving forward? Those are going to be the key parts. And those are going to be the things that are really going to help move us forward to make those changes. Because if we can make those changes, then we can actually start seeing the life that we want to be living. And don't fall for the trick like, oh, it's going to happen tomorrow. Like, it's not going to happen tomorrow. But we could start the journey tomorrow to make sure that it does happen as long as we keep moving forward. And as long as we keep moving forward, I really believe that we can achieve and attain all goals. So making sure that we have that is going to be extremely important. It's so key in terms of the success that we want to have. So recognizing that is going to be tremendous. Also recognize that, you know what, it doesn't have to be something big, right? I like to say, give the example of like me going on a walk every day. So like pick something small. What's something small that you can start to do every single day that will help you move forward and really take advantage of whatever it is that you're looking to take advantage of, aka your life, right? Like we want to take advantage of our life. So what are the things that we're doing that we can do today, right now, that are going to be more beneficial later on in life? And if we can start to think about those small things, and we can start to get out of our head more, and if we can start to be nicer to ourselves, and we can start to just slow down and really understand our expectations of life and where we should be versus where our reality and where we actually are, stop being so hard on yourself. It's not going to be beneficial to just beat yourself up. Pause, take a second, recognize, acknowledge the fact this is where I am, this is where I want to go. What's this one step that I need to do to move forward? If I start to do that, then we can actually start to make those changes. We can start living the lives that we want to be living and doing the things that we want to be doing, whether it's in our personal life, whether it's in professional lives, and we can start living the life that we want to be doing. And just by doing those small things, we can actually make a huge change and make a big dent in whatever that we're looking to do. Don't forget to journal, write down the 3 things that you really want to be doing in order to make sure that you're not beating yourself up anymore, that you're actually going to be proud of yourself, that the things that you're doing. And it's not like this, like, oh, let's just be proud of ourselves or like, you know, tying our shoes. It's like, no, like, what are we actually proud of ourselves, and like to really build it and internalize into to really be able to express ourselves in a way that we can actually start taking advantage. All right. Hope you had a good time. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If you have any other specific topics you want me to speak about, please let me know. All right. All the best.